Hello, everyone, and today we have with us Mr. Kaustav Sarkar, an application engineer at Google, and he's here to share his roles and responsibilities and talk about his experiences. So, before moving on, hello, Mr. Kaustav, how are you doing?
Hi, Sonia. Thanks for inviting me. A bit about me. Like Sonia mentioned, I'm an application engineer at Google, and what we really do is we work in remote collaboration and a small part of supply chain management as well. Before Google, I was working with Oracle, and I was an application engineer there as well. We were working on CRM, and before that, I was in TCS. I was working as a web developer first, and then I worked as well as a data engineer.
All right. So, could you please brief us about the company you're currently working with, which is Google?
Yeah, sure. So, what can you repeat your question? Sorry.
Brief us about the company you're currently working with.
All right. So, about Google, like everybody know, Google is an internet company. It's a search engine. Now, Google has expanded a lot. It's been about 21 or 22 years since Google has started, and we have somewhere around more than 150,000 employees. And there are a lot of organizations inside Google, separate organizations. And the organization which I work in is CorpEng, that is corporate engineering. So what we say is we run Google. All right. So when we say that we run Google, it means that whatever internal application Google uses, as in Googlers use, right? Those applications are built by us. And what we actually do is whatever things like there are different kinds of verticals like HR, supply chain management, or finance. These things are handled by CorpEng. And like I mentioned, for our team, we are handling remote collaboration, which is very important in these times. Everything we are doing remotely, and then we also handle a small part of supply chain management, where we are handling different kinds of inventory and ingestion of different hardwares and other stuff.
All right. So could you please brief us about your roles and responsibilities of a job profile?
So that's a really good question. And I have been asked this question a lot over LinkedIn and other platforms. So people are a bit confused around application engineers and software engineers. There is a slight difference. So let me tell you what an application engineer actually does. So being an application engineer, it is really important to know the domain which you're working in, right? Because you are working directly with business and you are interacting with them and you are understanding their problems and trying to solve those problems using technology. So it is kind of important to understand the business, the domain which you're working on, right? The next thing is being an application engineer. A major responsibility comes is that we have to integrate with a lot of third-party systems. Now, when we say integration, third-party systems, we know that these things uh, happen a lot in software engineering as well. But what makes it different for application engineering? So the difference is that, first of all, business domain, like I mentioned. The next thing is most of the third-party applications we integrate with are enterprise applications, and a lot of times those enterprise applications do not scale well with our infrastructure, right? So we have to think how to scale them, and we have to make sure that the experience Googlers have while using our applications is world class, right? And that is the expectation which we have set for ourselves. So this is a slight difference. And talking about my day-to-day life, I mean, it's just normal. Like, I mean, I wake up, I start code, and I code all day, and then I sleep. Not exactly, but we wake up. We have a lot of different responsibilities. Like we do code reviews, we do design reviews, coding. Yes, we talk to businesses, understand their problems. So there's a lot going on in an entire day for an application engineer as well.
Alright. So during a recruitment period, how was a question and answer process handled at Google, and how did it took place? Could you please tell us something about it?
So the interview in Google is kind of a very lengthy process. So what happens is, first of all, the recruiter contacts you. So the recruiter contacted me. They contacted me over LinkedIn actually, and then I shared my resume. They went through my resume, and then they contacted me over phone. We had a small discussion about what I'm working on and what are my day-to-day responsibilities and stuff like that. And then what happens is they schedule our first interview. The first interview in Google is usually a telephonic round, at least for technical profiles.
And as you know, the skills are really very important in every field and every profession. So to shape up such kinds of skills, I mean, what are the skills that would be needed for this current job profile?
Well, it really depends upon the kind of experience you're having. Let's say if we are a fresher and we want and you are joining our team, right? So the basic thing which we'll need you to have is good problem solving skills, right? So when we say problem solving, if we give you a problem, you should be able to solve it via means of technology, right? The next thing is communication. Communication is very, very important across years of experience. The reason is the better we communicate with our peers and with business, the better the solutions are going to be. It happens a lot of times that things are not communicated well. So the ideas which are propagated across teams and across business, I mean, things start changing and problems start occurring. Right. So the first thing, communication is a very underrated skill, I think, in software engineering, and it should be given more priority because it is important.
Okay. So as you mentioned, all the skills like problem solving, coding. So for enhancing those skills, would you mention some of the resources or the platforms for enhancing those skills?
So there are a lot of platforms over the internet, I would say. I mean, and people can choose whatever platform they like. But few of the platforms which come to my mind and which I had referred to a certain extent were the first of all, I would say Interview Bit was one such platform which I explored. Lead Code, it's pretty famous platform which people use. Then I explored a little bit of HackerRank and Geeks for Geeks.
Thank you so much for joining in us with us today. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sonia, for having me here. Thanks a lot.